This video is an extension of ordering rational numbers. Okay. So here we go. We have negative 1 and 1/7, negative 125%, negative 1.3, and negative 1 2/3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of these to decimals so that I can put them on my number line. So, here we go. I'm going to take 1 divided by 7, and I get negative 1.14. This would be negative 1.25 as a decimal. This would say as negative 1.3. And I know that this is negative 1.66 repeating as a decimal. So now I can see that all of my numbers are between negative 1 and negative 2. So, perfect. I'm going to start here at negative 1, and I'm going to put my negative 2 here. That means that this would be negative 1.1, negative 1.2, negative 1.3, negative 1.4, negative 1.5, negative 1.6, negative 1.7, negative 1.8, negative 1.9 right there. Okay? So, now I'm going to place these. Negative 1.14 is kind of in between here. Negative 1.25, a little bigger than 1.2, not quite 1.3. This is 1.3, 1.66, a little closer to the 1.7. So, remember, when we list these from least to greatest, we start listing them from the left to the right. Okay? So I'm going to start here. This was the 1.66, which is the negative 1 2/3. So I'm going to find my negative 1 2/3, and I'm going to glue it right here. Okay. Next, moving this way, I have this point, which was the negative 1.3. That is already in the negative 1.3 form. I'm going to take that and glue that right here. Next is the negative 1.25. That was negative 125%. So I'm going to take that, glue that right here. And lastly, the negative 1.14 or the negative 1 1/7. Remember, you want to put them back in their original format. Okay. Next example we have are the 5s. So, step 1, I'm going to turn all of these into decimals. And how about you pause this video right now really quick and you change them all to decimals, because you should be able to do that. So pause the video, and then when it resumes, you should check your answer. Okay. So, now that we've done this, you should check negative 5.4, negative 5.67, negative 5.2, negative 5.25. Okay? Now I'm going to graph these, and remembering last time that I needed just one more piece, I'm going to throw that piece there. So now all these numbers are between negative 5 and negative 6. So negative 5 is going to go here, negative 6 is going to go here, negative 5.1, negative 5.2, negative 5.3, negative 5.4, negative 5.6, negative 5.5, negative 5.6, negative 5.7, negative 5.8. Okay? So now we're going to graph these on the number line. 5.4 goes here. Negative 5.67 in between the 5.6 and the 5.7. Negative 5.2 is right on here, and then the negative 5.25. So starting from left to right, okay, I have negative 5.67, and in its original form that was negative 567%. So I am going to take that and glue that right here. Moving along my line, right here, negative 5.4, and in that's original form, negative 5 2/3, 5 2/5, sorry about that. Moving along again, this one right here, which is in between the 0.2 and the 0.3, so it must be negative 5.25, which is negative 5 2/8, followed by negative 5.2. Okay? Make sure that those are correct. All right, our third example. Okay, so what I want you to do is, again, like we did in the last video, I want you to change all of these to decimals, and once you're done, then come back. Okay, now you should check that this is indeed what you got. You should have only needed to change this percent and the 7 1/9. So we should have negative 7.1, negative 7.45, negative 7.43, negative 7.8, negative 7.11. What I want you to do this time is I want you to pause the video and change these to percents in this box. So you're going to pause the video, change all of these to percents, and write them in this box. Okay, now these are all changed to percents. Negative 745%, negative 743%, negative 780%, negative 711%. Okay, I'm going to extend my graph. How about you pause this video and create? Okay, the number line is done. It is between negative 7 and negative 8, and now we're going to place these numbers on the line. So negative 7 and negative 7.45. It's going to go in between negative 7.4 and negative 7.5. Oh, negative 7.43. So I just put negative 7.45. That needs to be a little closer to the 4 than a little closer to the 8. Okay? Or sorry, a little closer to the negative 7.4 instead of the negative 7.5. Negative 7.8 right on here. Negative 7.11. Just real close to that negative 7.1. Okay, now let's list these in order from least to greatest. Okay. And when we do that, we're going to start from the leftmost position. The negative 7.8. And if I take a look over here at my percent, okay, I should see that, yes, I do not want this one, okay? So that's going to go here. That would be my smallest. Then I'm going to have negative 7.45. Negative 7.45. Then negative 7.43, which was the negative 743%. And lastly, the negative 7 1/9. Okay. All right. Now we are going to flip over to the back and do some more examples. Okay. Now that we have done quite a few of these examples, what I want you to do is I want you to change all of these to decimals. You're going to change them all to percents here. And you're going to create your number line. So you're going to pause your video, change these all to decimals, change them to percents, and do your number line. Okay? Pause the video and do that now. Okay, so maybe you were just a slightly bit confused on what to create your number line. Well, you're going to create your number line between 0 and 1, because these numbers as decimals quite aren't 1. They're not quite a dollar, as we've referred to these in the past. So they would be between 0 and 1, right? Between $0 and $1 is your cents. Okay? So now we're going to place these on the number line. It would be a great idea for you to place them on the number line. Pause my video, place them on the number line, and then check and make sure that you're doing these correct, okay? So you might want to pause my video and then come back and check. So you have one at negative 4.5, negative 0.3, negative 0.88, and then negative 1.4. Okay, so we're going to start at our leftmost point, okay? And that is going to be the negative 88, okay, or the negative 8/9. That's my least. Moving this way, this is the negative 4.5, or negative 0.45. Then I have the negative 0.3, followed by the negative 1/7. Okay. Alrighty, let's do this next example. And in this example, I'm going to take a slightly different approach. Okay, so I am going to still change these to decimals, so I want you to pause the video and change them to decimals. Okay, so I've changed these to decimals, but instead of putting these on the number line, now I think I've gotten my head wrapped around why I need to start at the leftmost point. And now I'm just going to start to kind of think, okay, this would be right about here. This is going to be pretty close to up here. And then these two are going to be pretty close to down here. So I'm going to think, which one is my smallest? Okay, well, the negative 7.9 is my smallest. Okay, that's my smallest. The 0.9 would be here, where the 0.84 would be here. The next would be the negative 7.84, which would go here. Then the negative 7.3, or the negative 7 2/6, followed by negative 7.1. Okay? All right, last example. Same thing, pause, change these all to decimals. Go. Okay, you should have all of them changed to decimals. Negative 0.8, negative 1.4, that was already in there, negative 1.47, and then negative 0.2. So again, I'm going to start thinking, okay, these, negative 8 and negative 0.2, they're closer to my 0 than these negative 1.4 and negative 1.47 because they have a 1. So I know they're further away from 0. And I'm going to take these two. I'm kind of thinking in my head, they're pretty close to each other on the number line, but this negative 1.47 would be a little closer this way. So that negative 1.47 goes here. Then the negative 1.4. And now I have my numbers that are a little closer to 0. And so now I only need to think about these two. And I'm thinking this one's really close to 0. Okay, so I'm going to put that here, and then therefore this one would go here. Hopefully this gives you a better idea of how to compare rational numbers.